Everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Got a loaded show for us today. We got Billy Miller from IMG. Why is he important? Well, he coached J.J. McCarthy all through high school. J.J. McCarthy is a guy that transferred to IMG. He's now a Minnesota Viking. We're going to talk to Billy Miller about what J.J. McCarthy was like before he went to Michigan, once he saw him in Michigan. And he said J.J. kind of texted him of what team he wanted to be drafted by as well, and why he was excited of where he ended up. We'll talk about all that and much more, but of course, we have to talk about the Timberwolves. And for those that don't know, Billy Miller, he had a little game snafu on ESPN. We'll see if we'll get to that as well. That's coming up on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. We want to thank everybody who's joining us on YouTube. We want to thank all those that continue to like, download, and share. Please tell a friend and tell a friend we're here. I'm Ron Johnson. I got my co-host going to join me in a minute, Sam Extra, but I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets within any winning $5 bet. Hey, Timberwolves. It's a great time to put some money on the Timberwolves because they are going to win. So just put it on them to win the series. Don't pick the game because you might be a little nervous about which game they might win. But I guarantee you, if you pick them to win one of the next three, you will be paid out, people, and you will get your bonus bet as well of $150. Please, the winning $5 bet, put more than $5 on the Timberwolves. Trust me, I did the parlay, and we'll talk about that probably tomorrow a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit today as well, but I'm going to for sure talk about my basketball guys tomorrow about the parlay. I will say FanDuel, you guys are right on with these parlays, man. We were that close, but that's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Well, on today's show, as I said, we got Billy Miller joining us from IMG. For those that don't know him, and I'm going to bring my producer into the show, Sam Ekstrom. Billy Miller coaches IMG. IMG is one of the best programs in the country. I think like somebody put a stat up like 6 years, 18 draft picks or something like that. In the last 6 years, they've had 18 draft picks from their high school. Now, I want everybody to know you can now find us, Locked On Sports Minnesota, on Amazon Fire and Roku. Just download the Locked On Minnesota or Sports Minnesota app to get all your favorite shows. We're also on YouTube 24/7 around the clock. That's all the sports. So go on YouTube, subscribe. You just need the email address. Also tell a friend. Seriously, you guys are helping us grow. We are super excited about the growth in a short amount of time. I mean, we're going to be here. Our goal is to continue to bring Minnesota sports to you in a different and diverse way, in a fun way. And, one of the things is getting guests. But before we jump into Billy Miller, Sam, I can take my glasses off since I'm done reading. We have to talk about this Timberwolves game. And first of all, my daughter last night, I was up helping her do homework, which I'm so sick of, like factors and binomials and trinomials. I don't know if you remember those, Sam. Like, as I'm an adult now, I look back on 14-year-old me and I realize why I was like validated in that this math is dumb. I'm never going to say that to my kid. I don't want her to go to school and have the way I felt towards my teachers with some of this work. But Sam, it was dumb. But as I'm doing these binomials and trinomials with my daughter, we're watching the Timberwolves game. And she went to sleep. And then, of course, she woke up and she's like, did the Timberwolves win? I'm like, yep, they won. And then she was like, why are they playing so late? And I'm like, well, they're in Denver and it's, whatever. It's a time difference. And that was the first thing I thought about. So I'm like, we got to find a better way. Like, you can't tell me the Denver fans can't just go to a 5:00 game. Like, I get it. The Pacers were playing too. But maybe have the East Coast game be the 7:00 game and have the Western game be the 5:00. Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's got to be a better way than this. So we're not up till, I don't even remember what did it, was it midnight or 11 p.m.? What time did it end? I don't even remember now.
Yeah. Starting a little after 9, 2.5 hour game, probably close to midnight. It was probably 11:45 or so. Yeah.
Yeah. I woke up and I'm like trying to figure out why I'm tired. And then I was like, Oh yeah, it's the freaking game last night. So with that said, though, thank goodness we stayed up and the Timberwolves won it. My tweet of the night that blew up. Well, I've had a couple now that I'm woke up this morning to like 94,000 views and another one. Thanks for all the new followers now that are like, who's this basketball guy? I'm still a football guy, but I love basketball because I'm getting a lot of new followers from last night with all my tweets. But Sam, the one that I kind of like started the game off with in the first quarter, I can't remember the score. It might have been like 13-8. Timberwolves were up. And my tweet at that point was, because I felt like it was going to be close. I'm like, man, the pace of this game is nuts. Like it was back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like, if the Timberwolves could sustain this pace and they could stick with the Nuggets up until the fourth quarter, I was like, it's anybody's game. But I also said, even if they lose, they won that game by staying with them at this pace because this is their pace. Sam, I don't know if you remember the second quarter, but the Timberwolves got to went nuts. It was like their defense was like, you know what? If they want to play fast offense, we're going to play fast defense. And they absolutely made Jamal Murray's life hell. He was in a living hell. He was starting to throw elbows. He was pushing people. The true meltdown was the heat pack. He threw his heating pack onto the court as it was like live play. And come to find out now, I've seen other tweets, he was actually trying to hit a ref. Like he was throwing it at the ref like, you suck. Because he did it twice, they said. Somebody said there was 2 times where he threw something at a ref, like basically like pissed off, like you suck. I don't care if your intention was to throw it at the ground and it slid. I don't care if you're, but the fact that it makes it on the court, if that was a fan, that fan would be removed. That fan probably would have his season tickets taken away, and that fan probably could get arrested if the cops just felt like, you know what, you're a distract or whatever it's called, disrupting the peace, and it could, you know, bodily harm. If I'm Cat, I would maybe do it if I'm petty. I would sue. I'd be like, look, he almost tore my ACL by throwing that under me when I'm going up for a layup. Like landing on feet alone is one of the biggest issues in the NBA, is why they gave that new rule. You have to let the guy land on a jumper, because that wasn't a rule before. Guys used to shoot jumpers and guys would run up under them and stop, and they would land on their feet and play on. It's not a foul. You're done shooting. Now they're like, you got to give him space to land. They're twisting ankles. People are hurting knees. He could have easily gotten hurt. And so when I see all that and it doesn't get addressed right away, Mark Davis, the referee, you're wrong. You should have thrown Michael Malone out, or at least given him a tech, and you should have looked and called a timeout and stopped play and gone to the because whenever it happens with a fan, they go to the monitor and they help the police figure out who threw it. And they'll go to the monitor and clean the floor up, whatever's on the floor. If it's, you know, if it's cans, if it's glue gal, they always try to stop any craziness. He didn't even try to do it. He just looked. The team threw the heat pack back because they know, like, fans aren't bringing heat packs in here. So they're like, oh, shoot, get this off the court. I'm not happy with that, Sam. Let's go there first. That was my first Wolf reaction, is like kind of the weirdness of this. But again, even though with my tweet, like I said, I thought they make it to the by the fourth quarter, those guys weren't even like, didn't even need to play. And that's what the game had gotten down to. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought that was about as how would you say, loose a whistle, or like that was probably the most
swallowing the whistle,
most swallowed whistle that I've seen for full 4 quarters in a long time, both ways. Like I just because the Wolves won by 26, I don't think the Wolves were getting all the calls. I thought both teams were allowed to kind of get away with murder a little bit.
Oh yeah, they were banging each other, knocking each other down. Yeah, and that benefited the Wolves. Like clearly, the Wolves handled that way better than the Nuggets, and it went a little too far because the officials, not only were they not calling fouls, they weren't really calling technical fouls. I know Aaron Gordon picked one up later in the game, but the one on Malone was kind of ridiculous, not catching Murray throwing the heating pad and the towel. That was ridiculous. And now it's hard to imagine him not getting suspended, Ron. A lot of the pundits are calling for it. And I agree. You threw not once, but twice an object into the arena of play. And there was also, I don't know if you saw this, Ron, he also did the money sign. Oh yeah, I saw that.
At one point.
Done talking to Didn't Rudy Gobert get $100,000 fine for that?
Gobert got $100,000, I think it was, after the Cleveland game earlier in the year. So I think that you could fine him and suspend him. I mean, they could lay the hammer down on Jamal Murray, and if he misses a game and they lose, then it's over. I mean,
that's 3 strikes.
No team's ever blown a 3-0 lead in the NBA before. So I think that they'd be hard pressed to not suspend him with looking at the body of objectionable things that he did in that game.
Yeah, that's 3 strikes. Strike 1, you throw a heat pack. Strike 2, I don't know what the other object was, but I started to see that on Twitter. It was a towel.
Yeah.
So you throw a towel because you're pissed off. And again, I know because he might probably say this later, like if they ask him or whatever, because you do get to appeal, with your agent and this is what happened. He could say, like, I thought I had a towel. I didn't know a heating pack was in it. You're lying. It's heavy as heck. And you've like flicked it like that and the heating pack flew out. You can say that, but you're lying because the video clearly shows you have nothing in your hand after you let go. So there was no towel there. But I know because I played, you put a heating pack in the towel and then you put the towel around your back or your leg or whatever. And then you wear it around the bench. Like LeBron does it all the time. We did it in football as well. Like you put a heating pack in a towel and you go heat and ice. You put it on there. That's what, because I know it's his calf, right? It's like he has a calf issues.
Yeah.
Calf. So that's 1. 2, then the towel. Yeah, I meant to just do this, like, and it came out my hand. Fine. Okay. But the money sign? What are you gonna say? Oh, I was just snapping my fingers. Like, because he didn't do it. He didn't do it for a long time. He just kind of like, did that. Like, but Rudy Gobert does that. Rudy Gobert's was a little bit more like drawn out, but Rudy Gobert didn't got $100,000. So you can't criticize it. And then Michael Malone, like, it's just like Mark Davis. I get it. I appreciate it because like the Jamal Murray, when they had him in their grasp, like they had because he like dribbled, he was dribbling because he's trying to do a speed dribble. And I was listening to the broadcast, also listened this morning to Dan Patrick show on Peacock. I was listening to them saying how Chris Finch was saying we wanted to slow them down to the point where they crossed half, they only had 9 seconds were used. Like they didn't want them to speed up across the court in 2-3 seconds, or don't touch the ball so that when they get it at half, now they have a full 24 to get into their offense. He wanted them to speed up their offense so that when they got across half, which I love that thought, 15 seconds left now. You got 15 seconds when you cross half because we're going to make you use that full 8 to 9 seconds. And if you cross the court and we got you trapped somewhere and you're not ready to get into your offense, that's another 4 seconds. And that was happening. Now you make that pass, you're at 8 seconds. Now, if Joker gets it, we can double him because now he has to either pass it and that next person cannot pass it again. They have to shoot. And so that was a perfect blueprint of how to like stop them defensively. Like you saw Anthony Edwards do it a lot, like realizing like if I got Joker with 3 seconds left, I'm just going to stay on Joker. And now Joker has to stay where he's at to shoot over me or he has to run me over. And then they would double him and say, look, double Joker, make him kick it to somebody else. If that guy hits a 3, KCP or whoever, fine. But they're not going to keep making threes. Jackson, like same thing. Let these guys beat us, but we can't let Murray and Joker beat us. And it worked. And Joker got the 3 early fouls, which now we see why we can't do stuff like that. Like Joker had to come out early because of the early fouls and turnovers. I think that man had like 6 points and 7 turnovers at one point in the game for Joker. And Jamal Murray had 0 points. So it was a great defensive master. It was a masterful defensive game. The one thing I did like too on that is when Jamal Murray was dribbling full speed, he tried to like swing his arm because he was mad they were on him. They didn't call that. And that's why I think they let it go because they look, we didn't call the elbow on you. So we're not going to call when they are like up on you doubling and they got their legs. I mean, their legs were connected. So he couldn't get through. He was swinging his arms. He throws the ball and gets rid of it, but then throws, I think, Jay McDaniels. Like he tries to like swing at Jay McDaniels. Like it's just, you could tell he was frustrated at that point. And the same thing with Joker. Joker gets it and then he does the arm swing and elbows Nas in the mouth. So they sped them up to the point where they were getting pissed off. And now they got to come to Minnesota. And that's the best case scenario. 2-0 leaving Denver. You can end it at home. And if they go up 3-0, Denver is cooked. And I think they're emotionally out of it. I just hope the Timberwolves don't over celebrate and the fans don't start chanting like we want Mavs or something stupid like that, or we want the Thunder. But for an NBA story, I've been hearing this, Sam, and this is a question I'll give you before we get out of here and go to Billy Miller real quick.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a chance to talk about the Rudy Gobert baby situation. I think we've all heard it. He didn't get to play. He chose not to play. Which I think is a great choice. When you think about not even the outcome of the game, because even if they lost, who cares? Like your first child, one, to make sure they're healthy, one, to make sure mom's okay. Like you would hate yourself if you flew to Denver, because I thought about this with my daughter, my second daughter. My first one, she was perfect. My second one, she wasn't breathing. in the womb for a little bit. And they like panicked and had to hurry up and like get her out. Like they were trying to like wake her up and get her out and see what's going on, or thump her to see if they, whatever, her heart stopped. They didn't know what was going on. They just didn't have they couldn't see her breathing in the thing anymore. And so it was like, it might have, I mean, literally it probably was 30 seconds to a minute, but it felt longer. It felt like I was standing there for 10 minutes. Like, what the hell? Like, this can't be real. And so just imagining being in Denver, you play a game, you win, and all of a sudden you get a text message, your wife died, or your baby died, or something, like you would hate yourself. You would probably hate the game. You would never be the same mentally. She would probably like, if the baby died and you're not there, she would resent you. Like, there's just so much involved in this that's bigger than basketball. Basketball is a short part of your life. Your family's forever. So like guys like Gilbert Arenas, I saw him, make a comment about it, about healthcare and all that. Like, that's just a dude that doesn't have a wife. Like, honestly, that's the mentality of a guy that doesn't have a wife, that doesn't care that, the baby mama is just a kid, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's different when you just have a baby mama versus when it's your family. Like, and again, even if it's your baby mama, it's still your kid. And so it's a horrible take, because it's bigger things that he's like, oh, what are you going to do? It has nothing to do about what are you going to do. You have to be there. It's not about you being there to deliver the baby or do something if something goes wrong. It's you have to be there. Like, you don't want to get that call on the road. So, I'm not. We'll talk about this tomorrow on the basketball thing. I don't know if you had a quick thought on that too, about Rudy Gobert and the baby.
I think that enduring labor by yourself without a partner there to support you would be very hard. I saw my wife go through it twice. I'm not saying that I did anything important, but just being there, I think, was valuable for her to have somebody to share that trial with, because it's like the hardest thing that a person can do is deliver a child, and you got to be there for, like you said, the risk of something going wrong, but just for the support. I totally get it. I totally understand why you'd make that choice. Makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll save my other take. I had a Mavs Thunder take. I'll save that for the Daily 3, because I heard something yesterday and this morning on the national media as well, and I'm just kind of sick of the narrative. And so we'll talk about that in the Daily 3. But coming up next, we got Billy Miller joining us from IMG, and we'll do that after a word from our sponsors.
We are brought to you by FanDuel. Yep, the NBA playoffs are in full swing. The NHL playoffs are in full swing. Major League Baseball's in full swing. You can bring home a big win of your own. If you're a new customer, get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 when you win that $5 bet. Right now on the Wolves, you can check out the exact order of their playoff finish. So, for instance, if you think the Wolves are going to end this thing in 5, you can get odds on that. If you think they're going to sweep, you could get plus 100 on that. That's the favored line. Wolves in 5 would be about plus 900 right now at FanDuel. But the Wolves to win the series overall, minus 700. Overwhelming favorites right now against the Nuggets. You can get all those lines at FanDuel, where you can bet the spreads, the money lines, the player props, the futures. FanDuel.com/lockedon, a place to go get started. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Well, now it's time for the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment. And I love to talk football. You guys know that. We have Blake Cashman on, newest Viking, former Eden Prairie grad, Gopher grad. So I love connections. And when they proposed to me, IMG's head coach, Billy Miller. And at first, I'm like, high school coach, let me figure this out. And then I started looking up, the connections of Mike Lehan, former Gopher. He's there, was a Brown. He was my teammate in college. And then you look at Daniel Falele, and there's so many other ones. And then, of course, J.J. McCarthy. That's the main reason why we have to do this. Like, we have to figure out where J.J. McCarthy came from, what he was like before, because everybody thought it was going to be Drake May because of his high school coach. But no, it ended up being J.J. McCarthy. So as I bring Billy Miller into the Ron Johnson show, Billy, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment. First off, you are at IMG. It's one of the most talked about high school programs. I mean, I watch a ton of Instagram, probably too much, and I always see highlights of basketball, and they're always talking about Armando Baycott when they played Julian Newman's team and how that team was just dominant. And they went out and played the Ball brother, and they go all around. And then you guys kind of the same thing for football. you travel around all the time. I think back to like the Tim Tebow days, I feel like that came up. And you've put a lot of guys in college, a lot of parents entrust their kids to come to your program to get better at football, also get the school training. And you guys have brought in a guy by the name of Mike Lehan, former Gopher. And you guys, I mean, you have a storied history as well. You've been around a lot of guys we interact with here in Minnesota. PJ Fleck, Daniel Falele, Curtis Dunlap. There's been a lot of, and then for those that know Kevin Warren, former Vikings executive vice president, now he's the Bears president. His son Powers is from Minnesota, plays basketball, still in town, but you had him at IMG for a little bit as well. I think he went to Texas A&M and then Michigan State. With all of those connections, when you think about that, what's one thing? First, I'll go with PJ Fleck. What's one thing that, being around, because I know the Greg Schiano stories from PJ, but what was PJ like, when you were around him?
I think all the guys that you just mentioned, the number one thing you could say about them all is that they're great people, right? Great men. Being around PJ, very influential guy, does a great motivator, great with the details and fundamentals of what back then was a receiver play, but now the way you see his teams play, every Saturday they're always playing hard, always playing physical, always executing, understanding the situational football and dominating that aspect. So being around guys like that has been very special for me in my career, and obviously some mentors in those names that you mentioned.
And you sent, Falele has come up here to Minnesota. By the way, I mean, you could have sent us J.J. McCarthy. Like, he didn't have to go to Michigan. That would have been a nice treat for PJ. I mean, but you also had Zach Annexstad. But when you look at, that with Daniel Falele, Curtis Dunlap, Annexstad, what was one thing about Minnesota that kind of drew those guys to because the roll the boat culture, as PJ says all the time, is not for everybody. So what kind of drew those guys here?
I think it's just the culture, the family atmosphere that PJ instills in the program in Minnesota. The Annexstads are from there, right? And I know that Curtis Dunlap had a really good relationship with them. And I think Daniel, with his size and his, him being new to football, he only played here for 2 years. So I think for someone to take a chance on him and really understand and be able to develop him and get him to the next level was a big thing for him. So obviously the staff at Minnesota did a great job with those guys.
And J.J. McCarthy, you were going to allude to something, but when his recruiting process was going on, what schools were you hearing from for J.J. McCarthy?
A ton of schools. I think he had his mindset on where he wanted to go, and obviously being a Michigan man was very special to him and something really important. And going there and being under Coach Harbaugh and learning that offensive philosophy, and then getting ready to play on Sundays now. So it all worked out for J.J.
And on the field, like as a high school kid, because I know Josh McCown, he's the Vikings quarterbacks coach now. I've talked to him about Drake May before because he was his high school coach, and he kind of talked about his intangibles, and he talked about his ability that, what he needed to work on. When you saw J.J. McCarthy, because you've seen a lot of high school quarterbacks, you've played a lot of high school quarterbacks. What was it about J.J. McCarthy at that time? Because Michigan, I mean, you look at Drew Henson, you look at Tom Brady, you can go back to Greasy, even the quarterbacks that everybody thought were going to be the guy and ended up not being the guy for Harbaugh. What was it about McCarthy that kind of put him out in front of those other guys?
The biggest thing that we saw was the leadership capabilities that JJ had day in and day out. No matter what the situation was, JJ was always rallying guys up, getting ready to go to practice, getting ready to, win walkthrough, when the team appears, whatever it was, JJ was always that motivating guy, and guys just gravitated to him, right? So when, like Coach Belichick said before, whenever your best player is your hardest worker, you got something good cooking. And that's what it was with JJ. Every day, no matter the situation, he was ready to go, getting the team ready to go, and we were very successful because of him.
And thinking about the success of IMG, like how often do you hear from those players? Because, I mean, you have a lot of college guys, you have some NFL guys. How often do those guys either, try to come back there and just work out, or they're in town, or just send you a message of like, whatever it might be? Because I know I went to Martin Luther King High School in Detroit, and I know King and Detroit, Cass Tech are two schools right now that have put like over 40 players that are currently in the NFL currently. And then you can go back to like Spice Adams and so on and so forth and find the other names. But recently, I think Michigan, or not Michigan, but the city of Detroit, because states, it's always going to be Texas, Florida, California. But for city, just the city of Detroit has the most active NFL players for a city. So if you were to take like Boca, or you were to take Jacksonville, we have all those cities. But of course, it's a state. It's a little bit more of a discrepancy when you look at California, Texas, and Florida. Before a city, Detroit has it. So when you look at that, so we're very thankful for our high schools. How often do those guys, you get a chance to interact with those guys?
All the time. So whether it's game day or, we're playing on ESPN, whatever it may be, guys are always reaching out, especially after games that are televised, right? They're, saying congrats and, hey, who's number 5? Who's wearing my jersey? Like, introduce me to them. And our guys do a great job of giving back, right? So they're always wanting to get on like alumni Zoom calls. So we'll have them every spring for the guys or every fall. Help break up training camp a little bit. So we'll get, 5 to 6 guys on a Zoom call. We'll go into a team meeting. I'll say, hey, this is what we're doing today. You got a half hour to ask these guys anything that you may want to ask, right? Whether it could be their experience here at IMG, their recruiting experience, life in the NFL, whatever it may be. So we got some really great alumni. A lot of them have been drafted. A lot of them have signed free agent deals. A lot of them are doing stuff outside of football that are now in the business world, right? So they can hear from a bunch of guys that went through different experiences because everyone's journey has been different. But our alumni have been absolutely great.
And when you put these kids in front of like cameras and all, because when I was growing up, like Barton Cable was like the cable system back in the late 90s. And then, all these other ones, DirecTV and all these, but like being on ESPN for a high school kid, because I've seen AAU basketball players get that notoriety, but now football's starting to get it nationally, where you see like Texas, the top Texas school plays the top Florida school, and the top California school is going to go play the top school in Michigan, and so on and so forth. When you have a guy like J.J. McCarthy hitting the big stage like that in high school, how do you what do you look for to make sure this kid can, one, handle that, and specifically McCarthy, because he's your quarterback, handle that, like being in the big stage, but also then being able to still, like, after you're on ESPN, you got to transition and go back to class and make sure that report's done.
Yeah, so everything we do here is competitive, right? So it's always the next play mentality. So whatever it may be, we're always looking for those leadership qualities. And obviously playing on ESPN, it's great, right? It's great exposure for the academy and great for the kids. But, we got bigger goals than just one game. So even though we talk about the Hoosiers, the movie Hoosiers, where they go in and make the basketball net, right? It's still 10 feet, right? So the field is the field. The lights are the lights. It is what it is. We just got to go out and play. So we don't let one game define us, and we're always looking for the end goal. And obviously the biggest thing is developing these kids on and off the field.
And when with recruiting, how much does how a coach, so you, like you said, you had a couple guys go to Minnesota. How easy is that now for you to be able to trust the Gophers and say, you know what? I know PJ is going to take care of my guys. He's done it before. He'll do it again. What does that process look? Same with Harbaugh. He took care of J.J. McCarthy. What does that look like for you as a high school coach? Whereas a kid that might have went to Georgia from IMG doesn't do anything and tells you, man, it was a horrible experience, coach. I'm in the portal. I'm going to X, Y, and Z. How do you manage that as well? Because you have to kind of manage a lot of kids getting recruited.
Yeah, we try to help each kid and family individually, right? What they need, right? What they're looking to study academically, what do they want to do outside of football? We don't never push a family to one school or another. We'll just give them guidelines. Okay, how long has the coach been there? Okay, what's his track record? Where does he see himself in the future? Stuff like that. We kind of just inform the families, but we don't ever make a decision for them. But obviously we have alumni that have gone to several schools, right? So Alabama, Georgia, whatever it may be. So it's more just the information with recruiting nowadays, because we got so many guys getting all these offers. It's even tough to keep up with.
I was going to say, do you have a draft? Do you help these kids with a draft big board of hey, here, pick your 5, or here's your 8, or whatever it might be. Because again, it's a new day and age where back in the day, you remember that it was a letter in the mail. You had to actually get on the phone with the coach. Now it's a text message. Kids are getting text messages, and the coach is saying, hey, I meant to tell you, man, give me a call because we want to offer you. It's so different now with the attention span of these kids, as PJ Fleck would put it. And you're dealing with all those attention spans. What is that like too, reeling that in, but then also making sure, guys know nobody is big just because you have an offer from Alabama and he has an offer from wherever, Tennessee or Texas or Minnesota, whatever. We're still one team and nobody's better than the next man.
Yeah. So now with social media, I found out most guys get offered on social media, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram. There's always a logo and, hey, I got offered my 24th offer from this school, right? But we always tell the guys hey, being a great social media guy is not going to win you football games, right? You got to work in and day out. Our slogan here is protect the brotherhood. So we're always protecting the guys that came before us, right? So there's a lot of guys that have sat in our team meeting room that have been drafted that are now playing in the league or playing at a high successful college that are always watching, right? So they know that the alumni are always watching. So we protect the brotherhood day in and day out with how we act. We got to win the meeting rooms. We got to win practice each and every day. But social media is not going to win you any games.
And so let's go to football. I love the football side of this. Like Tony Dungy is my godfather, so I kind of grew up. My dad played for the Steelers, won 2 Super Bowls. So like from day one, I grew up in football. Like you can't see it, but my wall with where my whiteboard is right behind my camera has like a whiteboard, so I can actually like draw up plays as I'm talking like through a show because we do the Vikings pregame show. We do the Gophers pregame show as well, and so being able to draw up plays, I love sitting down with coaches and doing it. So coming to you with it. So you were, because you in college, you were a kicker. So I want to go there first.
Okay.
As a kicker, because again, every coach kind of has a thing like Harbaugh's offense, Kevin O'Connell is offense. Belichick was defense. Tony Dungy, which is weird because Dungy was a flipper. He was a quarterback
Belichick started off as special teams guy.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So Dungy was an offensive quarterback, became a defensive-minded guy in the NFL under Chuck Noll with the Steelers, and he understood what a quarterback was trying to do, so he knew how to stop it, which is why the Tampa 2 was created. So when you think about that, you being a kicker, what side of the ball do you lean towards as a head coach?
All of them, all 3 phases.
Okay.
So for my background, I obviously got to dominate the kicking game, right?
Right.
The really good coaches to coach offense and defense and give my philosophy on what I think we should be doing in those phases. Do I let those guys coach? Yes. But when it comes to what are we going to run as a program, I am heavily involved in that.
And when you think about like a moment, you have to go back in a moment with J.J. McCarthy in a big game maybe. What's like one memory you kind of really were like, man, this kid has it? Like what was a game or a moment that gave you that confirmation?
I'll never forget it. So we were playing Duncanville High School in Arlington, Texas. J.J. suffered a high ankle sprain the week before, so he was on a walking boot the entire week. Walking into the stadium, he was on a walking boot, right? And he came out in pregame, did his normal warm-up, and then absolutely lit those guys up. And we had a dominating win versus the top team in the country. And that's something I'll just never forget, how he played through toughness. Was out there slinging the ball and didn't let anything, stop him.
Yeah, and again, being mentally tough as a quarterback is one of those things you have to kind of, bounce back. Is there a moment you ever looked at too where maybe he had a bad, because you're a PJ, PJ. PJ has all his acronyms and his words, and one of his words is response for roll the boat. What's your response in the RTB? And so the response of a player too is something a lot of coaches look at. Kevin O'Connell talked about it as well. We've seen it at Michigan. We heard Harbaugh talk about it with McCarthy as well. So for you with this, when was a moment that JJ maybe failed and then you were like, he responded the way I hoped he would?
Every day in practice, we have, our good on good periods are harder than Friday nights, right? We got the best guys, not on offense and quarterback, but on defense as well, right? So, when they're going against each other in 1-on-1s, 7-on-7, or in team period, whatever it may be, there's going to be adversity that hits, right? It's how you grow from that adversity. It's not failing, it's growing. So, as long as your compass is pointing in the right direction, right? You got your oar in the water, you got a shot.
Where have you heard that one before?
I don't know. I see the oar behind you, so. Like,
yeah, that was a gift. So I got 2 oars. Actually, you can't see the one usually on the wide angle. You can see the other one, but PJ signed one for my wife. My wife went through breast cancer at the age of 37, unfortunately. And so I'll never forget that moment. Like PJ and his team came down and gave her a pink oar, which is that way. So it's over there. And it's from him and his wife, and it's made out to my wife, so we kept it in the office. And then this one, same thing. They gave me this one because I was a team captain. I was voted into the Hall of Fame in 2023. And so that was one of the things, like a captain. I got like a little oar compass coin from PJ, and then he gave me this oar as well. And so I have appreciated that, because in that moment I never really understood what that meant to get up every day and just go, and watching my wife go through chemo and radiation and all that stuff and surgery and back in the hospital and all that. I was like, man, like this this, I used it without using it, but I understand it. Like I didn't have to say that to myself, but I'm like, I get it. You have to get up every day sometimes and just go. Yep. And you might not know where you're going, but you just got to go. Don't stand still. Don't feel sorry for yourself. And, I'm reminding myself that every day. Like every time something happens, you're going to get knocked down. Like I was drafted to Baltimore Ravens, got hurt my 3rd year, had knee surgery, thought I was coming back, came back, got moved to the Bears. First game, same thing, dove for a pass, hurt my knee again, sat out for 10 months, came back, went to the Redskins, got hurt again. So it's one of those things where eventually I was just like, you know what? I mean, at 6'3", 230 pounds, people are like, oh, man, you like nobody can cover you in the red zone, which was kind of true. But I couldn't stay healthy. And so I look back on that time. And then Tony Dungy offered me a job, so I coached with him with the coach for 2 years. I look on that time, and I'm like, you know what? This was what God's plan was. Like, it wasn't to get hurt, but it was like, how can I help turn what you went through into something positive for you to be able to speak on? And if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. Like I wouldn't be doing pregame shows and understand coaching the way I understand it now and so on and so forth. Because I probably would have been, I was a knucklehead. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was a receiver. I was a diva. I wasn't like some of these guys though. Like I joke with Stephon Diggs and some of these guys and Justin Jefferson. I wasn't that. Like I didn't do the crazy glasses and chains, but I definitely like felt like you got to get me the ball, man. Like stop playing with me. And so I could understand it. Like I probably would have went on a different trajectory if I hadn't faced adversity. But looking at a school like yours, J.J. McCarthy gets drafted to the Minnesota Vikings. Pretty sure you watched the NFL draft. And as a analyst, we're watching it and we're having to speak on it. When Michael Penix goes to the Falcons, because that's the one spot where we like J.J. McCarthy could go away from the Vikings here. And when they took Penix, everybody in our building and our, at our stadium, everybody kind of like was in pause because we're like, wait, this is actually going to work out. Like they don't have to trade up too far to get J.J. McCarthy at this point. Knowing, because Harbaugh talked about it, that maybe Minnesota was one of the landing spots McCarthy wanted to go to. How good did that feel for you too, knowing like, oh, this kid's going to actually go to a coach and a team with the best receiver in the world?
Yep. So obviously having Justin Jefferson is obviously a great weapon for JJ, and then obviously being coached by a head coach who has a quarterback background, right, will be great for him as well. So I think it all worked out. I'm excited to see how he does, and obviously rookie mini camp and OTAs and getting ready for the fall.
And have you heard the old like Harbaugh adage of run the ball, and then we'll pass. And you got to be solid in the run game. You got to have big uglies up front and blah, blah. And the Vikings do have a great offensive line. They have Aaron Jones from the Packers now. J.J. McCarthy might not even have to play because I've been a big proponent of Patrick Mahomes sat for a couple weeks. Let him, if he has to sit for a couple weeks, who cares? It's about the longevity and not the right now. When you look at his situation with Michigan, though, where some games he wasn't asked to go win the game. He was just asked to manage the game. Do you see J.J. McCarthy? Because you've seen him in high school.
Yep.
What in high school leads you to believe he is a difference maker and he is a give me the ball and I can win this game for you type of player?
Well, I've seen it firsthand, him go down and win those games. But, JJ's a team guy. Whatever is needed for the team to win and have success, he'll do. Whether it's hand the ball off like they did in Michigan or most of the time or throw the ball, right? Whatever is needed of him, that quarterback position for the Vikings to go be successful, that's what you're going to get out of J.J. McCarthy.
And the text I got, because I got a text from one of the Michigan, from Ron Bellamy at Michigan, also Cato June, former Michigan player, coach at Indy, and they both kind of said the same thing. One, they're probably biased because they went to Michigan. I love messing with those guys, though. But they said J.J. McCarthy is a leader, but one thing that people don't know is he's freakishly athletic. He's way more athletic than people give him credit for. Is that true? Because they're saying, like, if he has to outrun people, he can do it. He just doesn't have to do it a lot. Yeah,
I've seen J.J. roll out to his right. The deep over was going across the field. He jumped it at like 180, threw it in the air, hit the guy in stride, and it was probably one of the best throws I've seen here at the Academy.
Man, well, I mean, so in your mind, let's fast forward this to, whatever time from now, J.J. McCarthy will be one of the best, because Vikings quarterbacks, it's not a lot to really that he has to jump. Like Kirk Cousins technically is in the top 3, and he's only been here for a couple of years. J.J. McCarthy could be considered one of the best quarterbacks if. What is the if for J.J. McCarthy?
I think one of the ifs would be just the whole development part of it, right? Obviously going from, Power 5 football to the NFL, there's always that jump in speed, right? We always say how fast the NFL game is and how big the guys are. So just him understanding it, being cool, calm, and collective. As you can see, he does a great job with the mental aspect of it. Just taking his time, going through his progression and making the right reads, and just being who he is, right? The kid's a born winner, right? Everywhere he's been, he's won. So just continue down that path, and we'll make the situation bigger than it is, and JJ will be successful.
Well, I'm Ron Johnson. That was Billy Miller, head coach at IMG Academy. One of the best. If you've not looked up their program, look them up. I mean, I know Mike Lehan there, so I've watched IMG for a while now. But one of the best programs in the country when it comes to just developing talent. I know kids from Minnesota that have gone up there just for a year or two to try to get improvement and try to get recruited. That's the spot to go. But Billy Miller, man, I want to thank you for joining me on the Hanging Ron Johnson segment on the Ron Johnson Show. And looking forward to. I hope. Are you going to try to get to a McCarthy game? That's the question. Are you going to wait for him to come to Florida, or are you going to try to come to Minnesota?
I'd love to. I'd love to come to Minnesota. Just let me know.
Because you play on what, Friday nights?
So we play on Thursday. We play on Friday. We got some Saturday games. So
okay.
We're over, but maybe we can make something work.
Yeah, you got to figure that out, man. Because I'm pretty sure sun is a nice, especially early on. I don't know about the snow times, but early on before that snow hits, Minnesota football, especially the Vikings Stadium, is one of the best atmospheres to come to. So you have to come check your boy JJ out. But again, I'm Ron Johnson. That was Billy Miller. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Coming up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions. We spent about a minute each today. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
We're also presented today by Monopoly Go. I've been talking about Monopoly Go with you for a couple weeks now, and I got to interrupt again, and I got to give you more features that Monopoly Go contains. It is so much fun to team up with your friends for time tournaments. You can work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, like unique stickers you can trade with your friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. But then you can also talk some smack and smash your friends' buildings and heist their bank vaults, and you can taunt them with hilarious emojis. So it can go either way. You can work together or you can be opponents. Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day, constantly changing tournaments and challenges, very dynamic, lots of unique mini games. You can dig for treasure. You can use the robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events, and you can get massive multipliers to increase your winnings. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on.
Now it's time for the Daily 3. It's 3 questions. It's been about a minute each today. Take it away, Sam.
All right, Ron, let's go Vikings talker to begin the Daily 3. Speaking of FanDuel, which we talked about earlier, the Vikings win projection on FanDuel is worst in the NFC North, 7.5 wins. And a lot of the money is actually going on the under on FanDuel. Would you take the over or the under on 7.5?
I'm taking the over. Give me 8 to 9 to maybe 10 wins. Here's the thing. The Vikings 2 years ago, what was it? 11 one-score games they won or something like that, something ridiculous. And then you fast forward the year after that, I think they lost a bunch of one-score games.
Yes.
So this is a team that's really good. I think defensively they got better, and people are putting a lot of hope on Kirk Cousins and that removal. I think the wins that Josh Dobbs got, I think the wins the games that Nick Mullins played, I can't remember if he won or lost, but I remember Josh Dobbs won some games. The fact that those 2 quarterbacks gave the Vikings hope to get into the playoffs, I think J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold give you hope as well, if not wins. And then also the defensive rush guys, Dallas Turner, Grenard, and Van Ginkel. You've created a whole new group of rushers now to go with Josh Metellus, to go with Blake Cashman. And then, of course, they always find some diamonds in the rough in training camp. So I'm going for sure at least 8 wins. I don't think they lose less than or win less than 8 games.
Yeah, I think they'll be flirting with that 500 mark again. Again, last year they were half a win away from 7.5, and they played 4 different quarterbacks. I
right.
think they were in just the quarterback meat grinder, and they still almost got to 500. So I think I would lean over as well, especially with the odds are actually better too if you bet the over. So NBA we go. The winner of Wolves Nuggets, looks like it might be the Wolves, plays the winner of Mavs Thunder. That begins tonight, Tuesday night. Who do you like in that other Western Conference series between Dallas and OKC?
My gut, tells me the Thunder because they were the better team in the West. But the Nuggets were the number 2 seed, and the Timberwolves were the number 3, and the 3 is winning right now. So my heart says Mavs because Luka is good, and he is a little hurt, they said. I know his calf too as well, but he doesn't play fast anyway. So he's been playing just fine. They also asked him, like, if this was a regular season game, would you play it? He's like, no, like he's not healthy enough to play in the regular season. So clearly there's not a greatness. And that's why, honestly, I want the Mavs versus the Timberwolves, because I feel like Luka can, like, they can make him speed up way faster than he wants to play. Even though he plays slow, you don't have to move super fast to stop Luka. And they have a lot of they're showing a lot of length and defenders on this team. Also, because now they get home court advantage. The Mavs would have to travel to the Timberwolves more so than not, and that gives them home court advantage to go into the NBA championship. And that's why I love that opportunity there. When I look at the national media, pisses me off a little bit because they're like, if we get the Timberwolves and the Thunder, I don't know if the world's ready for that. I don't think anybody's going to watch. Shut up. Chet Holmgren coming home to play his hometown team in the Western Conference Finals. You got Shea and his cousin, Alexander Walker. I mean, there's a lot of, and then you got Anthony Edwards, the best player in the world, versus Shea. So there's a lot of storylines there. Gobert versus Chet. Chet has never played well against Gobert. I mean, there's a lot. So shut up with that national crap. As far as like hating, I love the Barkley and Shaq them last night, that national stuff. And I love Perk. Perk is giving Anthony all his flowers. Stephen A. Smith is starting to realize Anthony Edwards is the guy, and they're picking the Timberwolves now. A lot of people, like I saw Jason Williams, Jason Williams. He's like, I still got to take the Nuggets in 7. Stop it. I wonder what you say now. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts, Sam. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I'm rooting for a long series. Let's wear them out. Wear out Dallas. Wear out OKC.
True.
I think people are being a little too flippant about, well, if the Wolves, the winner of the Wolves Nuggets will win the West. I think people are overlooking OKC. OKC played the Wolves very competitively during the year. It's a different matchup. I mean, clearly the Wolves have kind of figured out how to match up with Denver. OKC's different because they're smaller. They move the ball really well. Shea is unlike, their best player is a big guy, Jokic. Shea is totally different than Jokic. So it's a different ball game. So I think OKC would provide a really good challenge. If they play Minnesota, they would have home court. So hopefully if they do win the series, they're worn out by the end of it.
Yeah. What's the last one?
Yep, last one. Vikings schedule, Ron. We can start thinking about it. It's dropping next week. Which games are you most eager to see when they are played once the schedule is revealed?
I'm going to just go with one. I'm not going to take too much. Falcons. I want to see when the Kirk Cousins show comes to Minnesota. I hope it's later in the season so he's healthy, because everybody's saying he might not be healthy for the early weeks. I'm looking forward. Or if it is later in the season, all of a sudden Penix is taking over. That's a whole new storyline of Kirk Cousins walking to the building as a backup. So there's a lot we can deal with there. So I'm looking forward to the Falcons, because everybody's, gave them a jolt of like, oh, they got so good, blah, blah. Let's see what they got. I'm looking forward to that one.
New York Jets on the schedule. Rodgers versus
Rodgers.
the Vikings again. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Well, we got some good ones coming up. We're definitely going to talk about more about the schedule release on Friday. We got to talk about a little bit, deep dive into that a little bit. What games are we looking forward to with the Vikings schedule? What does the schedule look like? What, home, away? I mean, you got the Colts are coming back after that meltdown they had here. So there's a lot we can talk about, but you got Anthony Richardson. I mean, we have a ton of young quarterbacks as well that the Vikings get to face that are really, really good. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Maxwell. This has been Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Remember, people, you can get us 24/7 on YouTube. Please, you need an email address. Just subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. You get all your favorite shows. You'll get Vikings, Wild Wolves content around the clock 24/7. Have a great week.